Hello, hello. Today we have 12 different starts, 12 different matchups. This is the first week where we kind of have like a decent amount of buys. 6 teams on buy, so maybe some more start sit situations. But let's start with the New York Jets versus the Cincinnati Bengals. Breece Hall, one of my favorite football players in general, but I really like him in fantasy football this week. Hoping he has that first big game. It's been really bad these last 2 weeks, but I kind of trust it. First off, the Jets. How bad is it? They are still touchdown underdogs against the Bengals. Not good. But maybe they don't get blown out. Maybe it's a closer game. Better chance at least. I think Tyrod Taylor would help that. The Bengals right now are 32nd against running backs, but they're also 31st against receiving running backs. They are horrible this year in yards after catch. It's not even close who's last in the NFL. It's the Bengals by a lot. So we've seen that with tight ends recently. Helps Mason Taylor too. But Breece Hall, I think it helps him a lot here. If they get him the ball in space, it's not good for that Bengals defense, whether that is on the ground or through the air. I think he could have a big play coming here. Derrick Henry, similar, maybe finally gets that big play. We haven't really seen it since week one. It's been really bad since week one, at least. And in terms of the schedule, he has had the hardest schedule so far for running backs. I think better days are ahead, and we've been waiting for this moment of Lamar returning and after the bye. Lots of changes, and there's still good efficiency in terms of looking at his numbers this year. There hasn't been a fall off. He's still averaging 5 yards a carry. The problem has just been the defense and the volume. Hopefully, after the bye, those both get a little better. We saw some good volume against the Rams when they scored 3 points, still 24 carries over 100 yards. So maybe with Lamar returning, they're touchdown favorites, surprisingly. I would expect that volume to be a little better this week. I at least trust it for now. I wouldn't sit Derrick Henry. I think he's set up really well here, and Lamar helps him a lot. A desperate start next, but it's one of those where it's like a semi-confident desperate start. Like I don't mind playing Tyler Allgeier in this Miami versus Atlanta matchup. There's a lot of confidence that you can have just looking at that Miami defense. Like I talked about, Cincinnati's 32nd against fantasy running backs. Miami's 32nd in just the rushing production. And they are 32nd again by a mile, similar to the Bengals in terms of yards after catch allowed. Miami is 32nd by a mile in those explosive runs. So when you get Algier in there, who has about 14, 15 rushing attempts per game in their wins, the volume on the ground is there in the perfect matchup. And it's like, oh, yeah, well, of course they're going to run the ball when they're winning. That's kind of my point. I think they're going to win. So Miami, look at like the Browns game last week. Judkins had 3 rushing touchdowns in 25 attempts. Like this team is not the greatest. Atlanta's defense is really good right now. So I think Algier is just going to be set up super well against this Miami defense and have the volume to be able to pay it off. So Bijan, just incredible this week. He might go for 50 points. But Algier, he's got a shot too to put up, good 15 points. Buffalo and Carolina after that. Tetairoa McMillan, I'm fine going back to him this week. Tough spot last week, but I don't think that Andy Dalton is a drop off. And I kind of have proof. These last 2 years, Bryce Young versus Dalton, Dalton actually has more receiving fantasy points per game provided to receivers, tight ends, running backs, whoever it is. And we look at the games that he did start last year. Deontay Johnson, not a name I've said in a little bit, but he had a 30% target share and pretty good production with Andy Dalton. So I think it's similar to, like, say, a Flacco or a Wentz, these veteran quarterbacks that are like, okay, but at least they're throwing to the right guys, at least in our minds. So it's going to be less. I don't think Dalton's going to come in and throw a bunch of the slot receivers and the tight ends and the running backs. Like, he's going to be throwing to those outside guys still. So McMillan, I think, is set up well. Buffalo's been pretty poor against those outside receivers. It's a very similar matchup to like what Drake London had a couple weeks ago against Buffalo when he went off. So I like it there for him. I think that George Kittle is 100% a narrative guy. Like over anybody in the NFL, I think the narratives actually matter for George Kittle, and he created National Tight End Day. He is my tight end 2 on the week after scoring 0 points last week. And we look at the 5 games in the past. On National Tight End Day, he averages 90 receiving yards per game compared to his normal 64. So the Texans, they're a good defense, but they haven't played any tight ends so far. Like the best one they've played, the only guy that really matters is Mark Andrews, and that was with Cooper Rush. So they're like, yeah, they've been fine against tight ends this year, but they haven't played any. They're dominant versus receivers. So I think it sets up as Kittle being the best matchup in this passing game, even though it's against a good defense overall. So I like Kittle. He's never really had back to back bad games in a row. So hopefully it's not the first time this season. I trusted enough. And on National Tight End Day, I would never sit George Kittle. So he's my tight end two. The only guy that I would start above George Kittle is Tyler Warren because Tyler Warren is incredible. The next game is Philly versus the Giants, one that we have seen before this year, so we can learn from the past compared to going back to years past, which is sometimes, it works, and I will do it right again because it's a divisional matchup here, so we have lots of history, but it's even better when it is the same year, the same exact defense. So A.J. Brown against this Giants defense, the last 5 times they've played, the 5 times since he has become an Eagle, he's had 70 yards in every single game, 5 for 5. The last time they played a few weeks ago was 9 targets, 6 catches for 80 yards. So overall, I like the matchup in general. It matches up for his strengths. They play man defense the second most in the NFL, and A.J. Brown is still dominant against man coverage. And they do switch around a lot of times against the Eagles' defenses playing them. I saw someone point this out. I'm like, yes, that's true. The Giants haven't really. So a lot of times when people play the Eagles, they'll play a lot less man coverage because Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, and Hurts are all so good against man coverage. So you don't want to play a lot of man against them. But the Giants don't really. They basically play the exact same as they usually do. So it sets up well for AJ Brown. That's where a lot of those 80 yards came from in that first game was when they were against man coverage. So overall, I like it there. They're passing the ball a lot more. This first month of the season, they were 32nd. The last few games, they're actually top 5. So that pass rate is increasing. Cleveland and New England is this next one. I don't know if I've said to start a player more the past month than Stefon Diggs. So we're going back again. And please, God, score a touchdown. Please, Stefon Diggs. He's got a shot this week. The best matchup, again. So said that last week, similar in the slot here, where the Browns are the worst in the slot right now. So Miles Harden is that slot matchup. He's a 7th-rounder from last year. So Ward is only going to be on Diggs about 25% of the time. So that's really good in terms of the passing defense, and the defense in general for the Browns is good. But, the Patriots still projected to score about 25 points. Maybe Diggs finally is that guy to score a touchdown compared to Drake May, giving all the yards to Diggs and the touchdowns elsewhere. So hopefully he gets that positive regression in terms of the touchdown luck coming back his way. But I like this matchup overall. He's been incredible. May's been incredible over this past month. So it's hard to get away from this passing offense here. The run Ds for the Saints and the Lions, both good. The Saints actually have a pretty solid run D. They're just way different teams from a fantasy perspective. Like Detroit is one of the best in the NFL. The Saints are not. So when Rachaad White has that floor game last week against the Lions, they only put up 9 points. They lose 24-9. It's a lot different when you're going against a Saints team. We wouldn't expect that to happen. So the volume's still incredible. The 3 games without Bucky Irving, he's had top 10 running back volume. He has 3 receptions in 4 straight games now. So those PPR leagues, he gets an automatic 3 points basically, not even counting the receiving yards yet. So that volume is just too good to pass up in a matchup as a whole that is pretty good for a Tampa Bay offense. So I would still go back to Rachaad White after his floor game last week. A harder one with Indianapolis and Tennessee. I don't really want to tell you to start any tight ends usually. Indianapolis has been amazing. Jonathan Taylor, everybody knows to start him. We're going to go with Michael Pittman here just because of the red zone ability. So Daniel Jones, last time they played, only had like 220 and a touchdown. They put up 41 points on offense. Like that's the risk, is because even when you do blow them out, a lot of times it might be just on the ground. Taylor, 3 rushing touchdowns. But Pittman at least has the best red zone ability in terms of both his volume, 25% target share down there, and 4 red zone touchdowns on the year. He had 6 targets, 6 receptions, 73 and a touchdown against the Titans last time. So again, we've seen this game before, these divisional games. So out of all those guys, I would say Pittman, still a really good start at that flex position. Great touchdown upside. Hopefully, he is the reason that they're blowing him out in that first half at the end of the day. So Downs probably coming back, but I don't think that affects him too much just looking at the start of the season and how this has gone so far. So really like him. Welcome back to the weekly segment where I say to start every Cowboy and start everybody playing against the Cowboys. It's very simple and it works every single time. This week, though, I want to focus on Bo Nix. One of my favorite stats of the week: 27 quarters into the year, he was the quarterback 16. 28 quarters into the year, the quarterback 6. 35 fantasy points in the fourth quarter will do that for you. Even taking that game out, just look at his first 6 weeks. If we add in the Dallas bump in terms of that defense against quarterbacks, they're 32nd, and on average, they're allowing 7 more points per game to opposing quarterbacks than that quarterback's average. So if we do that with Bo Nix's first 6 games before that blow game, we would expect 24 fantasy points from Bo Nix. Probably more. We look at the quarterbacks so far against Dallas, very simple. They've allowed 24, 36, 36, 31, 29, 23, and 22. It's been good. Start Bo Nix. He's my quarterback 5 on the week right now. Green Bay and Pittsburgh, as we get into these final 2 primetime games, I would go DK Metcalf. We got a revenge spot for Aaron Rodgers. He's not a bad start himself, especially in super flex leagues. Green Bay, great run defense. Passing defense is solid too, but I think they're going to be forcing a lot more of those passing attempts like they have throughout the season. And another guy, like a Kittle, Rodgers, I would say, is a narrative player. Week 1 against the Jets, for example. And I think Metcalf can be the biggest benefactor. Are we going to be shocked when they get down to the 1 yard line and it's first and goal from the 1 and they just have their run call to Jalen Warren and Rodgers like, hey, wait a second. All right, fade route to DK Metcalf real quick. Wouldn't be shocked one bit if that were to happen, or DK just gets a lot of volume. There's lots of passing, red zone passing especially. So I think the touchdown upside is really good for Metcalf this week. I think the volume upside in general, Rodgers hopefully has another good day in prime time there. So I like DK Metcalf. In the very last start, Washington versus KC, I think a pretty confident flex start is actually going to be Isiah Pacheco with the Kareem Hunt injury. Right now, he's projected for about 14 touches in this game. I wouldn't be shocked if it was much more. We look at Washington, pretty average as a defense, so it's nothing like the matchup that way. But with Mariota starting, that obviously changes a lot. Guess which games had the 3 highest rushing volume against Washington's defense? It was the 3 games that Mariota played in. His 2 starts, and then last week when he came in for the last third of the snaps there. So I really like the matchup here for Isiah Pacheco just because the potential of that rushing volume, and with no Kareem Hunt. We look back the last couple of years when he has played 60% of the snaps, he's averaging 18 points per game. He obviously hasn't been that type of player yet this year, but just shows that if you give him the volume, he's serviceable in a way. So in a matchup where I think he can have 15 plus touches and a really good offense, Pacheco, very interesting as a start overall. So that's my 12 starts on the week. Leave any comments and I'll try to answer them by Saturday night. Get those matchups or get those start sit decisions in by Sunday morning. Try to give my best recs and see how it goes. But thank you guys for watching and see you soon.